Tomorrow, the European Central Bank is going to launch a QE, quantitative easing. What's your take on that? Is it a policy you agree with?
Well, what we've seen since the economic crisis of 2008 is that the US and UK governments have introduced this looser money policy, what's known as QE, in order to provide some stimulus to their economies. And really what we're seeing now is the Eurozone kind of catching up with that policy. So I think if you introduce new money like that, it's likely to create more economic activity. But in the long run, what we really need to do to solve the crisis is to address the problem of the debt overhang that's continuing.
The Greek election is coming up on Sunday. Do you think this is trying to send a signal to the Greek electorate?
I don't think it's necessarily that directly related to what's happening in Greece, because this has been rumbling on really since the summer, and I think it's been more difficult to get political agreement about QE, particularly with the Germans. But I think the relationship is in terms of the debt. So what we will see in Greece is a government coming in that refuses to accept that its people should suffer to repay that debt, and they will be looking for debt restructuring. So in that sense, there is a relationship.
And you say that QE will loosen financial policy in Europe. Germans seem to be quite opposed to that. Does this represent something of a departure in policy, a sort of new beginning for the Eurozone central bank?
I think we are seeing that things have got so tight now in the Eurozone, and we've seen increasing evidence of deflation and economies really struggling. And so I think that's put pressure on the Germans to no longer resist this idea of injecting new money. And so I do think that's an important change that's happening, although as I understand it, the situation will be that the member states will still be responsible for their bonds, so we won't see a situation where Germany has to take responsibility for debt in the periphery.
And in terms of QE, I mean, that's one policy on loosening financial policy. Is it enough to try and claw Europe out of the debt crisis?
Well, to my way of thinking, just creating new money isn't really a solution. We need to look directly at the debt, and we need to be seeing who's actually taken on this debt and make them bear some responsibility, rather than making the price be paid all the time by the poorest and most vulnerable. So I think certainly in Greece after the elections we'll be looking towards debt restructuring, and that may be appropriate in other member states as well.
So a clear message then to the German central bank and the German government would be that to expect a Greek government after Sunday which will be demanding a rewriting of the terms of the Troika?
Well, we're certainly waiting to see what the results of those elections will be, but I don't think there's going to be any possibility of carrying on making the Greek people suffer as they have so far, and there will be an irresistible pressure to have restructuring of Greece's debt.